You guys, it took me 33 years to stop the comparison game, to stop comparing my life to that of my neighbors. And guess what? I don't want it to take you that long. So in today's video, we'll be talking about the parable of the vineyard workers found in Matthew 20 verses 1 through 16. Let's get it. Listen, amigas. Can I be frank for a second? The very first time that I actually read this parable, when I was working myself through the New Testament, I completely understood this parable totally different than after I did my research and after I read a few commentaries. Initially, I understood this parable as a lesson to not be jealous of other people's blessings. After reading my commentary, I realized that the truth of the matter is this parable is focusing on salvation. It does not matter how long it takes you to be saved and to know Jesus. What matters is that you finally hit it, that you finally realized who God is, that you finally found his blessings, and most importantly, that you found salvation. It doesn't matter that you've been a Christian for years or maybe a baby Christian. Either way, the reward is all the same, and it's salvation. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and break this down in two different parts because the principles can be applied to both sets of your life. It can be applied in the sense of, hey, stop being jealous of your neighbor's life. Stop being jealous that your friend got married. Stop being jealous that your friend has the amazing career. Stop being jealous that she gets to be a stay-at-home mom and you're not. And it can also be applied to salvation. So the first part, we're going to break it down and apply it to our life, and the second part we're going to go ahead and apply it to our life with Jesus. All right, before we get into part one, I actually decided to go back a little bit and actually read through the parable so we know what's in the Bible and how to apply its principles. So, parable of the vineyard workers. Verse 1, for the kingdom of heaven, and I'm reading NLT, that's the version that I like to read, but you do you, boo. Read whatever version works for you. Parable of the vineyard workers. For the kingdom of heaven is like the landowner who went out early one morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay the normal daily wage and sent them out to work. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he was passing through the marketplace and saw some people standing around doing nothing. So he hired them, telling them he would pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. So they went to work in the vineyard. At noon and again at 3 o'clock, he did the same thing. At 5 o'clock that afternoon, he was in town again and saw some more people standing around. He asked them, why haven't you been working today? They replied, because no one hired us. The landowner told them, then go out and join the others in my vineyard. That evening, he told the foreman to call the workers in and pay them, beginning with the last workers first. When those hired at 5 o'clock were paid, each received a full day's wage. When those hired first came to get their pay, they assumed they would receive more. But they too were paid a day's wage. When they received their pay, they protested to the owner. Those people worked only 1 hour, and yet you've paid them just as much as you paid us, who worked all day in the scorching heat. He answered one of them, friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? Take your money and go. I wanted to pay this last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be jealous because I am kind to others? So those who are last now will be first then, and those who are first will be last. When it comes to our life, I just want to remind you that it's God's will, not our will. So when it comes to spiritual gifts or spiritual growth, it's God's timing, not our timing. God knew us before he created us. And because he knew us before he created us, he knew what he was creating. So he knew when he created Cindy Lou Freebush, that Cindy Lou Freebush was going to be the most amazing class clown in the world. Then again, when he created Sarah, he knew that Sarah was going to be the little quiet mouse in the classroom. When he created me, he knew that I was going to be a little bit emotionally unstable. And when he created all my friends, he knew that they were going to be amazing. My point is, if you were created a certain way, own that way and own that personality trait. The other day I was talking to one of my really close friends, and after a long day of work, she came home, we started chit-chatting, and she was telling me that she wishes she could be a little bit more hard, emotionally stable, and emotionally stronger the way her sister and I were. Now, that kind of hurt me a little bit, not to make this about me, but that kind of hurt me a little bit, because it's like, man, you were made for you. You were made you, and I was made me. So don't wish to be other people. Have I done that in the past? Yes, I've been guilty. I wished I was a little bit more disciplined. I wish I was a little bit more of a clean freak. I wish I was a little bit more of a go-getter. There's so many things that I wished when I was younger that I could be, but it's simply not my personality trait. Now, don't get me wrong, we can work on things and become those things, but our personality is simply our personality. So when my friend told me that she wished she was a little bit more like me and her sister when it came to emotions, I straight up was like, sis, check that out the door, because you're amazing. Like, God made you full of emotion and extremely sympathetic and empathetic to people's emotions, so you can work through an emotion with them. I know if I need a hug, I'm gonna go to my friend. But if I need someone to slap me upside the head and be like, stop giving yourself a pity party and get out there and work, I'm gonna go to somebody that has a similar personality like me. That's my husband. I go to my husband. He's quick to be like, stop with the pity party, get out, go to work, call it a day. We are all created differently because people need different people. We need different personalities in this world. Imagine if we were all the same plain Jane. Imagine if we were all negative Nancy's. Imagine if we were all silly Sarahs. No, we wouldn't function well. We need a bunch of different personalities to get a bunch of different types of communication out there to make life a little bit funner. So if you're not like your friend, or if you wish you were more like maybe that social media influencer, work to find the traits that you like about them and maybe change your habits to become more disciplined like them. But don't knock your blessing, because God created your life and he created it for a reason. God created you in his image. God knew you before you were created in the womb. And if he knew you, don't disregard that blessing. Don't disregard that trait and personality that you have, because it's a blessing. If God made you the way that you are, it's for a reason. Accept it, love yourself, and be okay with it. With life comes life's blessings. Let's just sit here for a second. I'm gonna keep this simple. Maybe, not sure yet. I always say I'm gonna keep things simple, sis, but I never do. But listen, with life comes life's blessings, and it's God's will. So to be frank, your blessings may not be the same as your sister, cousin, friend, mom's, neighbor's blessings. And that's okay. Some people are going to have more money. Some people are going to have less money. Some people are going to be millionaires. Some people are going to be in the poverty level. I have been in the struggle zone when I was a single mom, when I first got divorced. And I've been on the other end of the spectrum when it came to financial security. And I made 6 figures one time in my life. 1 year, I made 6 figures. And so I understand both ends. And the thing that I learned, and I'm so grateful for learning, is that what you do with little blessings, you're going to do with big blessings. So when it comes to life's blessings, don't compare your blessings to your neighbor's blessings. Don't covet thy neighbor's wife. Don't be jealous of your neighbor. Because what you do with little blessings, whether you're ungrateful or you're grateful or you disregard it or you're unnecessarily boasting about it, whatever you do with little blessings, you're going to do with big blessings. Going back to that same conversation that I had with my friend, she's old, we're older, I'm 33, she's 35, she's not married, doesn't have kids, she's living her best life as a flight attendant. That's how I met her. If you want to hear about my flight attendant story, go ahead and let me know, drop it in the comments, and I'll tell you a story for later. But she's my really good friend now. Granted, I was only a flight attendant for like 3 flights and I was over it. But sorry, tangent, going back to my friend. She was telling me how disappointed and sad she was that she wasn't further in a career or further in life. And I had to remind her, that's what, get you some good friends, sis. Pray for friends. I prayed for friends, and God gave me her and a few other friends. But when you're thankful for little things or thankful for the blessing that you currently have in your life at the moment, you're going to transcend. You're going to transcend that to big blessings. You're going to transfer that over when you have big blessings. So my thing is, instead of being jealous of other people's blessings, just be grateful for what you have. Practice gratitude. So you have a janky car. Whoop-de-doo, Basil. Wake up in the morning and say, thank you, Lord. So my car is missing some paint, but it still turns on every morning and gets me to work. So you live in the hood. Thank you, God, because I know that there's people out there wishing that they could live in this 2-bedroom apartment in the hood. So maybe you gotta ride the bus somewhere. Thank you, God, that I had money to get on the bus to get me to work today. And don't get me wrong, I know when you're in a pit and when you're in a black hole, sometimes it's so hard to see gratitude. It's so hard to hunt for the good stuff. In the military, we have this saying, hunt for the good stuff, and it's resiliency training. When all else fails, try and find little stuff every day. Hunt the good stuff. Try and find good things that happen to you that day. And so I know it's hard when you're in a black hole, when you feel like everything is caving in, when you feel like you can't pay the bills, when you feel like your kids are hungry, when you feel like you're going through a really bad divorce, when you feel like insert whatever you're going through right now that might be a struggle. I know it's really hard, but babe, if you practice gratitude now and you love the simple blessings that you have now, when life hits you and everything goes boom, bang, wow, kaboom, you're going to be so much more honored and so much more humbled to have those blessings, because you knew what it was like to struggle and you knew what it was like to still be in gratitude for the small blessings. And now you're beyond humbled and beyond grateful for big blessings. So practice gratitude, because regardless of where you at, when I used to listen to secular music, which I still do every once in a while, I think it's, who's the guy that sings King Kunta? J. Cole? No. Love Yours. The song is called Love Yours. I'm pretty sure it's by J. Cole. But I love that song because it does talk about, like, love yours, man. There's always going to be a chick that's cuter. There's always going to be a person with a bigger house. There's always going to be a family with more wealth. So love yours in the moment. So what if your car is janky? Be grateful for it. So what if you have to take the bus to work? Put some ice in your water bottle and let's get it. So what if your job and your boss drives you nuts? Be grateful that you're able to show up to a nutty boss, because there's people somewhere out there wishing that they had a job. Now, this is what I first understood this parable to be. Stop being jealous of other people's blessings and love yours. But the reality, part 2, is that it's actually talking about salvation. I had to get a little bit comfy. And I know Beans is dying to get up here, so come on, Beans, come here. Come on, yours is loud up here. All right, part 2, applying this to Jesus and salvation. If you noticed in the first part of the parable, or actually throughout the parable, it talked a lot about time. So the vineyard worker went to look for workers at 9 o'clock. He went again at noon. He went again at 3 p.m. And then finally he went again at 5 o'clock. After going through some commentary, I realized that the parable was actually talking about how people receive their salvation at different times in their life, but the blessing, the salvation is the same. So it doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian or how little you've been a Christian. If you believe God manifested himself into a man, his name was Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins, then you will be saved. I'm not saying that there's not a couple of little extra things. The Bible does says, if you love me, follow my commandments per God. But overall, If you believe that Jesus died on the cross for us, you are saved. Now, I want to talk about time, because sometimes people almost use how long they've been a Christian as a weapon, where it's like, man, I've been a Christian my whole life. You know, I've served God my whole life. And it's almost like they don't say it humbly or gratefully. They almost say it like, I know better because I've been in this longer than you. Not, honestly, it's never happened like directly to me or at me, but I've heard comments of people to other people, or I've heard like it's almost a flex, bro. Like, I've been a Christian for 11 years. I know more than you. And it's like, no, bro. Yeah, you've been a Christian for 11 years. That's amazing. But are you still on fire? Are you still on fire for God? The way this newbie Christian is? The way this baby Christian is? Sometimes we get so wrapped up in like how long someone's been a Christian that we forget that it's a process and it's a relationship to walk with Jesus. And that relationship is going to have really amazing times and really not so amazing times. Overall, though, I do genuinely believe if you're walking with Jesus, you have a much more peaceful life. But that does not mean that you're going to go through highs and lows. You're going to mess up. You're going to sin. You're going to maybe hurt another one of God's sheep, a brother, a friend. But either way, don't use timing as a flex on someone. Don't be like, I know more than you because I've been a Christian since I was born. I know more than you because I'm a PK, I'm a pastor's kid. Like, I'm going to be the first to tell you, I was born and raised in an apostolic church, apostolic Pentecostal, right? I was born and raised in an apostolic Pentecostal church. And it wasn't until I was 25, 26, my parents got divorced when I was young. My mom and I left the church for a really long time. I came back. It wasn't until I genuinely searched for, I need to make a testimony video, and I will one day soon. But it wasn't until I genuinely opened up my Bible and searched for what I believe in Jesus Christ, what I believe in, that I knew salvation is not through good works. Salvation is through knowing that Jesus Christ came and died on the cross for you. And so, I don't know, I could be one of those kids that is like, hey, I'm a minister's kid, I get it, but I didn't know what saved you. So why does it matter for me to flex on someone and be like, I've been in church my whole life, I left and came back, I know a lot? No, I didn't know anything when I came back. And thank God, instruye al niño en su carrera, the Proverbs that's like, tell your kids about God. Show your kids the right path so when they get older, they do not depart. Thank God for my dad, because my dad was the one shoving God down my throat. I had a really bad moment in my life. I went to my dad's house and he's like, what you need is God. You need to stop playing around with all these dudes that don't care about you and get your little butt to church. And that's what got me to church. And I was still lukewarm. After my dad told me that, I went, give me a second, I'm thirsty. I went to church and I was lukewarm, I don't know, probably for like 3, 4, 5 years. I would really have to sit down and do the timeline, and I will. Let me know if y'all want a testimony in the comments. But I was lukewarm for a long time. And I was just one of those people that was like sitting Monday through Saturday, showing up, repenting on Sunday, calling it a day, because God is gracious, merciful, forgiving, and loving. I got baptized. I was still doing my thing, still partying, not getting convicted with a lot of the things that I did. So my clothes, jewelry, I wasn't getting convicted. It wasn't until a Sunday where I was at a thrift store that this lady was like, hey, you're dressed like I would dress modestly to church and then do my thing Monday through Saturday. But this lady was like, oh, you're dressed modestly, like, do you go to church? And I was like, yeah. I told her. And she's like, so what does your church believe in? What do you guys believe in? And I was like, well, if we do good things, if we're a good person, we're saved. And God knew what he was doing, because she was like, oh no, honey, if that's what your church is teaching you, they're wrong. And you need to get up in your Bible and read it and find out what really saves you. And I was like, so triggered, because I was like, how you gonna tell me? I was born and raised in church. How you gonna tell me what saves you? And until that, I hadn't opened my Bible, right? I'm talking about I've been going to church for years. I'm baptized, couple months after being baptized, haven't opened my Bible. I went home and radically got into my Bible like a psychopath. Like, man, you know? I love this Bible because I love going through it and I love seeing like all of my highlights. Let me show you Timothy. I love going through this Bible because I was going crazy with it. I was like legit reading everything and I was like, what saves you? And what about this? And what about that? And I just went crazy. But that goes to show you it doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian. If you don't know the bare minimum of Jesus, if you don't know that he loves you, if you don't know that he died on the cross for you, if you don't read your Bible, if you don't spend time with Jesus on the daily, if you're not in community with people, like none of that matters. It doesn't matter how long you've been a churchgoer. What matters is what you know and what you believe in. On the contrary, it doesn't matter how little you've been a Christian when it comes to spiritual gifts. I have seen people in the church for years flaunt the gift of tongues, right? When I first got baptized, or when I first started actively really being in church, like I would almost beat myself up because it's like, man, how come I haven't spoken in tongues yet? Like, what's up? I want to know what it feels like. And like, I just thought it was so dope. And I would like beat myself up. I'm getting choked up thinking about it because God is so good and he saved me from that like condemnment. I remember I would be like so just worked up, like, God, why aren't you giving me this gift? But as I started reading my word, I started gaining more knowledge of spiritual gifts, and I realized that like there's people that have been in church for a really long time and haven't received any gifts, haven't enjoyed the fruits of God's labor, haven't just done little things. But I've also seen on the opposite end where people that are freshly baptized are out here prophesying, are out here giving, you know, with the gift of discernment, are out here with the gift of hospitality, are out here with the gift of teaching, are out here speaking in tongues, like days baptized with amazing gifts. My point is, it does not matter how long you've been a Christian. The length of Christianity doesn't matter because it's God's timing. You can be a Christian for 27 years and, I hate to say it, be spiritually dead and just be a bench warmer, churchgoer. Or you can be brand new, baptized, on fire for Jesus. To add also to the bench warmers, you can be going to church just because it's in your culture and it's what your family does. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have a relationship with God. So before we start flexing on people and like taunting people with how long we've been in church or how little we've been in church, don't use like that as a flex either. Oh, I just got baptized 3 days ago and I just prophesied to someone. Like, don't use that as a flex. Be grateful for your gifts and be grateful for God's timing. Because at the end of the day, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's God's will, not our will. So submit your willingness to work to God and show up, and he'll show up and show out for you. He'll give you gifts that you never thought you would be good enough to have. Again, I'm getting choked up because I remember I was so stuck on like, how come I'm not speaking in tongues? I'm not speaking in tongues. I'm not speaking in tongues. And then God, from what a lot of people tell me, and I'm not using it to boast, but God hooked me up with the gift of discernment. But I just submitted, broken, a single mom, tattooed, in the military, cussing, party girl. I submitted, changed my life, and started following God and saying, hey, it's your will. And in that, he used a broken girl to show other broken girls how good God is. Like the amount of time that I've prayed with people, or the amount of time that I've like just given them a word because I'm hearing it one-on-one as I'm praying. It's almost like a thought that comes into my head and it's like, they need to hear this, 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 and this. And it's like, oh man, I need to really know if this is from you, God. Because I have a very thoughtful mind also, very imaginative mind. So I could look at someone and be like, oh, when none of that is from God. I say all of this to tell you guys that the parable can be used, the principles of the parable can be used in so many ways. you can apply those principles to your life. Don't be jealous of others. Don't be jealous of others' blessings. Be grateful for what you got, because at the end of the day, it's God's will, not our will. And you can apply it to salvation. It doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian. It doesn't matter what you did in your life. If you submit to God and you say, hey, God, I love you. I want you to please change me. I want you to transform me. I want you to use me. He's going to do that. And I know, because he did it for my life. I almost didn't film this, guys. That's how I know God is good. So whoever sees this, the blessing is for you, because this was a blessing for me too. I think that's all I have for today. I love you guys. I thank you guys so much for watching this. I'm going to post maybe a couple other videos up here so you can watch it. Send this to a friend. It'll definitely help me. And I think that's it. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.